Sage Wanderer here, and I thought I would do a different kind of video for y'all. One part of this channel that has always been present is kind of my diary. Like, I just tell you guys what's up with me, and I know some of you are curious. I'm 3 months this weekend. I think 3 months Tuesday from the big breakup. And I won't lie, it kind of destroyed me. It was tough. I really, really loved that woman, and it was very hard to let go of her. And it took me much longer than I thought. When I came out with the April Fool's video, that was BS. I was not over her. I was still mad at her. I was still upset about losing, and it took me a long time. And, when something like that doesn't work out and you have to let somebody go, you can't change that. You can't change them. There was nothing I could do to hold her. There was nothing I could do to make it work. I was completely powerless in the situation, and all I could do is just surrender to the reality of it. And when I've been faced with that in the past, you have choices when you're faced with that. You can, try to abruptly move on, ignore the fact that it tore you up and jump into something else, and that never works out right. Or you can just fall in the mully grubs and beat yourself up over it and just go on until the pain wears off over time. But I've always found a more productive thing to do when I'm dealing with something I can't control. It's that serenity prayer. Help me to change the things I can change, to accept the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so I couldn't change the situation, but what I could do was change me. I looked at it and I went, hey, there's some things that I fall short as a man, right? Just looking at it from a purely secular perspective, there's some things that I fall short in, right? My career was not on target. I didn't know what I was doing. I was all over the place. I didn't have a purpose. I hadn't submitted to the call completely. I did, and then I didn't, and I did, and then I didn't. Right? And it's no wonder that she couldn't submit to me, because I wasn't submitted to God. Is it any wonder she was in rebellion to me, because I was in rebellion to God? I've come to that conclusion more recently. But in the moment, I knew that I couldn't fix what had happened. I couldn't undo it. I couldn't change it. If I brought her back, it would just continue to happen. I knew there was some things there that I didn't know. Since then, I've learned some things. Like I've figured some stuff out. I kind of know what was going on, right? And it is what it is, right? And I've got some insight, and all I will say is that somebody out there that loves me a little more, or likes me a little more than they like her, gave me some inside information. So that combined with some deductive reasoning, and I kind of know what's up, and it's okay, right? It is what it is, and I can't make somebody do anything, and I can't force them. I can't twist their arm, right? I just have to accept what somebody is willing or unwilling to give. I have to accept what somebody is willing to give and what somebody is willing to not give up. And so I had to let it go. And so in times past, when I'm faced with some things that I cannot change, I look at what I can change. And so it took me a while to get to the spiritual thing and realize that I had not committed to God and His calling in my life. I had put a condition on it. I'll do it when I have a mate. I'll do it when I have a helpmate. You can't ask me, God, to do this without some kind of support system. I'm all alone in the world. How can I do this when I can barely keep my head above water, right? And so I knew I had to change some things in my life. Not just if I ever wanted to see her again, but if I ever wanted to have a relationship with somebody. That I trust God in such a way it's unnatural. That I trust God with my finances, with my next meal, with my next breath, in a way that I can't expect other people, especially a woman, to do. A woman has got to have some form of security. And And it's not why I submitted to God. This calling goes way back before this realization. But I realized that in accepting my calling, that what God ordains, He sustains, and that it would stabilize my finances in a way that maybe a woman could trust in God a little bit more than just this blind trust that I have for Him. I just do. I absolutely. Oh, here comes the waterworks. I absolutely do love and trust Jesus with my next breath, and He's proven Himself to me over and over again. But not everybody operates on that level of faith, right? And women need security. It's a natural thing. Yes, I'm a pastor. Yes, I'm a man after God's own heart. But I'm still just a man, right? But I can't expect people to have that faith that I've got. That this taking a lifetime of miracles has made me just not worry about if God's not taking care of me. I do get worried, right? Because the only time He doesn't take care of me is when I'm not in His will, and I try to stay in God's will. And so we had some, me and her had a rough winter financially. It was a struggle, put a lot of stress on the relationship, and I deduced that was because I was running from God, right? That's the only time it gets skinny with me, is when I'm not trusting God, when I'm trying to take the wheel and wrestling God for control of my life. And then, but otherwise, whether He's the channel or some stranger or a unique opportunity, dropped me in a job like He did once upon a time when I needed money, and made me a TV cameraman out of nowhere. Just bloop, there you go. Other times just a job would appear out of nowhere that I loved and made a lot of money doing. And so whether it was through the, other people supporting me in ministry, or a church supporting me in ministry, or a job or an opportunity, God always took care of me unless I got out of His will. So I know that the hard times from last winter were because I was not doing this. I wasn't listening to God and sharing with you this unique perspective that I have on the faith. And I believe that it already has brought so many people to Jesus. This easy, loving, caring version of Christianity that I have presented to people over the years it's miraculous. And some of you have experienced the miracle, right? That this is miraculous, and I was wrong to lay it down and to put conditions on it. The other thing that I have issues with is I'm not the most fit guy. I'm fitter than a lot of people are, but I'm not as fit as I could be. And so I decided to take control of my health. And so when I kind of came out of the initial shock of the loss of that relationship, and it was a big loss. I mean, I still feel like God sent her to me. I just feel like it got intercepted, right? It got intercepted by the enemy. And, the devil's at work, right? I do believe that I brought healing to her, and that she's a better person because she knew me. And I believed had she stayed with me, her healing would have become complete, and she would have become the woman that God needs to be in my life. Right? God has shown me that the number one priority from here on out is that I have to look at a woman not through the eyes and the lens of a man, but I have to look at a woman from here on out almost like it's a job application, right? Almost, because I want a partner in this ministry. I want somebody that can carry their side of the couch. I want somebody that can be equally yoked with me and work in this ministry. So I need somebody that is submitted to God. And I need somebody that understands what I'm doing. And I need somebody that's ready to commit to the work of not just being in a relationship with me, but being a co-partner with me in this project, in this mission that's going to take me the rest of my days on this earth to complete. And I know that. And I want you guys to know that I am dedicated to this plan that God has laid out for me. And I really have very little doubt that it's going to work out. And I have my moments, sometimes the donations drop off. I forget to take an offering. You know how I hate taking offerings. I forget to ask for the money, and then I don't get it. But ultimately, I've got enough tithers now that my basic bills get met by the people that have committed to donating to me. And it's taken me a couple of months to kind of establish that rhythm and go, okay, I know it might be tight right now, but some tithers are going to come through. And as it turns out right now, I'm balanced. My budget is balanced, but I live really low. Like, I don't waste a dime. I am so frugal. And that's another thing. My simple life is hard for a woman to take. I mean, just so that you know, and you don't know this because I haven't done a lot of diary type logins in a while. But I still don't have a proper kitchen stove and oven. I'm still cooking on a 2 burner propane Coleman camp stove on a folding table. I'm still washing dishes in the only sink I have, which is the bathroom sink, right? I I don't have a kitchen sink. It's ready to go in. The plumbing's all laid out. I just lack a few bucks and some time to finish it. And I don't have any floor coverings. I'm on plywood in this. And this is a rustic life, right? And it's one thing I can say for my most, for the only other person that's really lived here with me since I've been here. She took that in stride. I do appreciate so much of her. I have not. Don't throw her under the bus. Don't. Um, to accept me as well as she did. I mean, I got issues, right? I am far from perfect, and in some ways, my absolute faith in God and my willingness to live an austere kind of basic life, so that I can pursue spiritual things, is something that has always been an issue for I think every woman that ever left me. Really, honestly, I think they left me over money. They might have found some other peedinkling things, so they didn't have to admit to that. But ultimately, uh, they can't hang with my voice crying in the wilderness, John the Baptist kind of lifestyle. And so, if I really want to have a relationship, I got to do a little better for myself, right? I mean, it's just facts. I mean, just because I'm a person of deep faith doesn't mean everybody is, and so I have some things to work on. So when I hit that point where I'd kind of gotten over the initial shock, I realized that no, she's not coming back. This is over, and I decided to do something different. There's an old saying, if you want something different, do something different. And part of this process for me, why I'm so different coming out of that relationship, is I realize now what I've been doing wrong all along. I'm a very physical guy. I'm a very emotional guy. I fall in love real easy. When I fall in love, my sexuality follows, and sometimes it's the other way around. I fall in love with people I'm sexual with, but it's usually the other way around. I fall in love with somebody and I want to get sexual with them. It's one of my weaknesses that I struggle with. And I keep making the same mistake. And part of it is really finally beating the sex addiction. That I just couldn't go without that physical contact. And I'm really not a sex addict as much as I'm a touch addict. And touch and sex in the modern world so much goes together, right? That it's just, that's one thing leads to another, right? It's like I used to tell the kids in my youth group, your sexuality is a bomb with a fuse on it about this long. If you don't want it to go boom, don't light the fuse unless you want a baby, right? Unless you're ready to be a parent, right? And I should have put that, took my own advice, right? But I keep making the same mistakes. I keep jumping in too quickly. And so I've got a new saying, fast don't last, right? And so whatever future relationship I have, one thing is certain, regardless of who it's with and when it happens, is that I am intending and in going about this with a vow to myself to go slow. Go really, really slow. Make sure you know who you're dealing with before you give your heart. Make sure that this person is who they claim to be, can follow through with the promises and with the commitment, because a lot of people want to, but they can't. They've got issues, and you just got to go slow so that you can figure that out. And so that's what I've been doing. I took a long break where I didn't even talk to anybody, and I decided also to not chase. So I'm not on dating sites, I'm not looking, and the only interactions I've really had are people that I bumped into online who showed interest in me in non-dating circles, okay? And I started talking to a couple of them One, I just didn't feel like it was right. We talked a lot. I liked her a lot. She's very beautiful. But, ultimately, it was just a life compatibility thing, and I don't believe she was on board with the mission at all, or up to the task, right? And then the other person, I feel like this person is in my life for a reason. If not romantic, it's for some other reason. But I felt drawn to them and curious about them, and so I interacted with them about their spirituality. And I'm kind of hoping they'll invite me to church. We did have a dinner, you know. We did go out one time, just dinner, you know. Nothing nefarious. She has a small child who tagged along, so it was a family dinner, right? Um, but ultimately, I want whoever it is to be sure of me before we get connected, before we start being intimate, before we start um, falling in love, right? And I have to protect my tender heart. I can't do this thing where I just jump in, because fast don't last. I don't need somebody who makes rash decisions. I need somebody who's more stable than that. And by me being rash and making rash decisions, I'm attracting people who think and feel that way. And I need to attract a more stable person, a person that knows what they want and have prayed it through and are trusting God. And they got to have the skills and ability to stay up with me. They got to be a talented person. They got to have writing skills, or they've got to have performance stage skills. They got to have prayer warrior skills. They got to have something to offer this ministry, right? And I'm almost looking at them like I'm like it's a job application. I've completely swapped around the way I look at relationships. And it's made a big change for me. And then I've undergone a huge transformation as a man. That I've embraced this mind, body, spirit thing like never before. I'm praying like I never prayed before. I'm watching my diet like I never have before. I stopped drinking. I'm 3 months celibate now. I've been celibate since Catherine left. And I intend to remain celibate until I am in a relationship. And some would argue you should wait till you get married. For me, the commitment is the same as the marriage. I don't know why you guys think there's a difference between promising yourself to somebody and getting a license from the government that says you have the permission to promise yourself to somebody. Like the government, I'm more of a jump the broom kind of person, right? And so to me, it should be tied to the genuine commitment. And I'm going to hold out on the physical relationship until the commitment is there. And I'm going to go slow and make that person walk it out. And I'm going to have to walk it out for them to show that I'm not a rash person that jumps into things. That's the only part of my life where I'm not calculated and careful. Like this move to Oklahoma, it was timed, it was calculated, it was not rash. It was the end of a long thought process that got me there. And I handle everything in my life that way except my romantic life, right? But I've engaged in the mind, body, spirit. I lost a lot of weight at first, and it may look like I'm putting weight back on. I am, but you can't really see. It's muscle. Like my waist is getting smaller and my chest is getting bigger, and the shirts now are tight around my chest and shoulders, not around my stomach. And it's because I'm lifting weights again. I'm really watching what I eat. I've cleaned up my life to where I don't have any vices left in my life, right? I've cleaned them all out. And not because it's the law, but because I'm trying to become the best version of me. And the best version of me is a guy who lives a clean life, because I want to live a long life. And, I have been looking at younger women, and I don't mean way younger, not Susie Young, but, 10 years younger, because I'm aging at a different rate. And I know I've always loved older women, right? I just appreciate the strength and the maturity. But now older women are like really old. And I was lucky with Catherine to find an older woman who didn't have the energy of an older woman who still had her physicality and her looks and all of that. But ultimately, if I'm looking, I'm finding more and more that when I talk to older people, they're just unable to keep up with me. unable to embrace the task that's before me. And I feel like I'm almost unable to embrace the task before me, right? And so I'm making myself the best version of me. I'm having a lot of self-discipline, mind, body, spirit. I spend all my time in study. I spend all my time in prayer. I don't go out. I hardly ever go out and sing. I won't say I don't. Sometimes I just need to sing, and I need to be around people. But it isn't like before when I've also got to where I'm okay with being alone. And I have submitted to God, and if He's calling on me to live a life of celibacy from now on, I am fully willing to do that. And I'm not even crying about it anymore. For me, there's something about celibacy that once I get, like, the 2-month mark was a big deal. When I got, sorry, I got an itchy ear. I'm having some allergies today. But, you know, I'm trying to be the best version of me. And if that requires me to be celibate, I will. And I'm not even afraid of it anymore. When I got past the 2-month mark, it started getting easier, and now I'm hitting that 3-month mark, and 3 months, 30 years, right? I'm finding ways to feed my spirit and my mind in other ways, and I'm bringing my body into submission, both submitting, making my body submit to my will when it comes to what I eat, what I drink, what I do, how I spend my time. I'm trying to get lots of sleep, and I do have a testimony. I really received a physical miracle. I have a very spiritual friend from my past, and we've been friends for a very long time. She's my oldest friend in the world, okay? And she is kind of a spiritual mind, body, spirit kind of nutritionalist and massage therapist. And when she does a massage, it's from a Christian perspective, and she told me not to put her stuff out there, but nobody knows who she is. Nobody's watching. Relax. Nobody that knows this anyway. But she ministered to me the other week, and you guys know my back's been out, my knees been killing me. I haven't been sleeping. I've been begging for people to pray for me, and you have been praying, but God used this woman some way to give me a supernatural healing. And part of it is when she gives you a massage, the oil she uses is anointed oil. Like, this person sees this body work as an overall ministry. So for her, it's a mind, body, spirit ministry, and she prays over you. So it's a whole different experience. Don't think it's dirty. It isn't, right? And so she knew I was in need of some healing, and she gave this to me. I didn't have to pay for it, right? And it's somebody that I trust, and I have a certain kind of love for her, right? It's just we never connected. Like, there's something about me, whatever. I've let it go years ago, and I just see her as a valuable friend. And but at any rate, I got a supernatural healing. Like, my knee, my back, I'm working out like I could never before. I'm sleeping like full 8, like sometimes 9 hours. Like, I never sleep 9 hours. And so I just want you guys to know that I have had this miraculous healing. I am right now the best version of me, and I just got started. And I hope this inspires you to take control of your life, to take control of the things you can control, and to let go of the things you can't control. And you can't control other people. You can't really control situations. All you can control is your part in those situations and what you do and how you handle yourself. And so I've submitted to God concerning my love life. What's the story of my love life? I thought about titling this video Sage's Love Life, and then just my opening statement being, I have no love life. End of video. Thanks for coming by. I guess you could say I'm in a love affair with Jesus. I'm just really sold out for Him right now. And I'm not saying there's not room for someone else, but they've got to come to me with truth. They've got to come to me with absolute transparency. They got to come to me with a desire to build, ready to commit, and ready to take the time it takes to build a relationship before we jump into bed, before we jump into big commitments, before we jump into cohabitation or anything of the sort. That it's got to be right. It's got to be ordained by God. And a part of me says that we need to be married, right? Even if it's just a spiritual marriage. Um, because for all my MGTOW buddies out there, most of y'all are gone, but some of y'all are still hanging around. Know that marriage is really, it's well, let's just say it's still so serious. You better be right. You can't jump in and out. I mean, there's no backseas, right? And maybe that's part of why it's important. It does make it hard, but it's kind of wired against men, and it's you don't have a lot of motivation, especially if kids aren't involved. Now, if kids are involved, everything changes, but God's still dealing with me about that. It doesn't really matter because I kind of feel like it's going to be a while. Like I'm prepared for a very long wait, and I'm prepared to wait for the rest of my life. And if she never comes along, then she never comes along, right? I'll find my peace other ways. I will say this: I value more the casual interaction with anybody, and it just that casual interaction means a lot to me. Whether it's the hairdresser or the checkout person, or if I'm out to singing karaoke, the other singers, the people I know. And so I'm just valuing that interaction with wherever I can get it. I'm just living day to day. And but if God doesn't send her, he doesn't send her. But somewhere out there is somebody who wants what I want, who's prepared to do what I'm prepared to do, and is willing to pay the price, and wants to make a difference in the world, and believes in what I'm doing, and loves me as a man, and is attracted to me. I want all of it. Hey, I don't want much. I just want everything. But I'm not settling for less. And if I have to wait forever, I will. And if it's not God ordained, I don't want it. If it isn't Christ centered, I don't want it. And I'm done dealing with people who aren't already ready to make this move and make this commitment on their own part. Like, I want them to be looking for the very same thing. And I know that God will present that, or he won't. And I refuse to take control of it and force it. And so that's where we're at on this thing. There's a little diary for you. I am the celibate monk, and I will remain that way with God's grace and my best effort. And anyway, thanks for spending your time with me. I already finished my work. I've been doing my sermons a few days one day in advance, so I'm kind of post-church right now. I did my praise and worship, got my sermon ready. I'm going to edit it together, and hopefully it'll be up at the crack of dawn in the morning, because I'm going to start uploading the night before, so it's waiting on you when you get up, whenever you get up. It'll be here for Sundays. So expect Sunday service. Remember, there's going to be a PayPal down there if you want to contribute to the cause, if you want to contribute to what we're doing financially. There's a P.O. box down there and an email address if you want to get with me, contact me, want me to interpret your dreams, whatever. I've been doing that for folks. So contact me, don't contact me, but keep on viewing, hit the like button, subscribe, spread the message, and we'll see you next time, coming at you from my shack down by the creek, my cabin by the creek. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye now.